So I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are suddenly dropped into the middle of Chicago.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right, and you need to get to a very important meeting. It's urgent. So someone hands you a map, and you are like a highly motivated person, right? You sprint.
Oh, you're going all out.
Exactly. You run as fast as you can. You have an incredibly positive attitude. You are literally repeating affirmations to yourself while you run. You're crushing it. But there's just one tiny problem.
Which
The map they handed you is for Detroit.
Right, yeah. So it doesn't really matter how fast you run
Oh.
or, how positive your attitude is. You're fundamentally hopelessly lost.
And that, my friends, is the exact trap we are tearing apart today. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we have a massive stack of sources focused on Stephen R. Covey's legendary book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
And I know what you're thinking.
Right, you hear that title and you immediately think of like some guy in a terrible suit at a mandatory corporate retreat.
Yelling at you to wake up at 4 in the morning.
Yes. Telling you to take an ice bath and, hustle harder. But we are officially rescuing this material from the corporate graveyard today.
We really are. Because if you actually dive into this source material, it's not a book about productivity hacks.
Not at all. It's this mind-bending, radical blueprint for completely tearing down your reality and rebuilding it from the inside out.
It really is a systemic overhaul. What's fascinating here is that the text points out how, for the last 50 years or so, almost all success literature has been totally obsessed with what they call the personality ethic.
The personality ethic.
Yeah, it's all about public image, social band-aids, communication techniques, basically faking interest in people just to manipulate them.
Yes, I love that description. It's basically the Instagram filter of personal development.
Exactly.
You throw this nice, warm, golden hour filter over a crumbling, termite-infested building. And sure, it looks fantastic online, but structurally, the roof is literally caving in. I mean, you can't just smile and nod your way out of being a fundamentally terrible person.
Precisely. And the sources contrast this modern obsession with the first 150 years of success literature, which was, well, entirely grounded in the character ethic.
Right, the older stuff.
Yeah, we were talking about actual integrity, humility, courage, justice, patience. The core mechanism here is that you cannot talk your way out of a problem that you behaved your way into.
Oh, say that again. You can't talk your way out of a problem you behaved your way into.
Right. You can learn all the slick negotiation tactics in the world, but if your core character is flawed, people eventually sense the duplicity.
So, the paint job doesn't matter if the engine is literally missing.
Exactly.
But to actually build that character, the sources say we have to start by admitting that our entire view of reality is completely warped. We need to talk about that Detroit map. The paradigm shift.
Right. So a paradigm is essentially the lens through which you view the world. It's not the territory itself. It's just your map of the territory. The personality ethic tells you, try harder, double your speed. But again, a positive mental attitude in Chicago with a Detroit map just means you're going to cheerfully arrive at the absolute wrong destination.
You'll be smiling, but you'll be lost.
The fundamental flaw isn't your behavior. It's the map.
Which brings up that famous Harvard Business School optical illusion mentioned in the sources.
Oh, that's a great example.
Yeah, so you take a room full of really smart people, you show half of them a picture of a fashionable young woman, and you show the other half a picture of an older woman with a very large nose. And you just flash it for 10 seconds.
Just 10 seconds.
Right, and then you show the entire room a composite image that combines both of those pictures.
And total chaos ensues.
Literal chaos.
Half the room argues fiercely that it's a young woman, and the other half thinks they are completely blind because it is clearly an old woman.
People are probably screaming she's 20, and the others are like, no, she's 70. What is wrong with you?
It's a perfect, controlled demonstration of how just 10 seconds of visual conditioning totally dictates your reality. Now, multiply those 10 seconds by an entire lifetime.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Think about the conditioning from your family, your socioeconomic background, your schooling. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are conditioned to see it.
Which brings us to arguably the most powerful story in the entire stack of research we looked at, the New York subway story.
Yeah, this one is heavy.
Okay, picture this. It is a quiet Sunday morning. People are sitting on the train, reading the paper, resting their eyes. The vibe is incredibly peaceful.
Nice and calm.
Very calm. But suddenly, a man gets on with his children, and these kids are acting like absolute feral animals.
Just out of control.
Completely. They are yelling back and forth, throwing things. They're even grabbing people's newspapers right out of their hands. It is total chaos. And the father, he's just sitting there with his eyes closed, doing absolutely nothing.
You could just physically feel the intense irritation of everyone on that train.
Oh, my blood pressure is spiking just thinking about it.
Right, so Covey writes that he finally turns to the man
Mm-hmm.
and, with incredible restraint, asks him if he can please control his children.
And the guy opens his eyes, looks around like he is waking up from a coma, and says, "Oh, you're right. I guess I should do something. We just came from the hospital where their mother died about an hour ago."
A devastating moment.
I don't know what to think, and I guess they don't know how to handle it either. Man, I would evaporate.
It's intense.
If I were the guy who yelled at that father, I would have to instantly fake my own death. I would legally change my name, pack a small bag, and move to an underground bunker in Antarctica out of pure shame.
But notice the mechanism of what happens in that exact second. His paradigm shifted instantaneously.
It wasn't gradual.
No, he didn't have to practice positive thinking. He didn't have to bite his tongue and try to suppress his anger. The anger just vanished on its own. The entire behavior changed effortlessly because the map changed. Suddenly, irritation was replaced by profound compassion. If you want minor incremental changes, sure, work on your behavior. But if you want a quantum leap in effectiveness, you have to find a way to shift your paradigms.
Okay, but let me push back a little bit here. Does this mean I have to assume every single annoying person cutting me off in traffic is secretly living through like a tragic Shakespearean backstory?
Well, no.
Or is it just about realizing that my initial reaction is almost always based on incomplete data?
It's definitely the latter. What's fascinating here is that it's about pausing long enough to recognize that your lens is coloring the reality. And if we can accept that our maps are flawed, we can start looking for the actual, unchangeable natural laws that govern true effectiveness.
Right.
Which brings us to the most fundamental law in the entire text. It's not about grinding 24/7. It's about the goose and the golden egg.
Yes, the magical goose. The classic Aesop fable. So a poor farmer wanders into his barn and finds a goose that has laid a pure gold egg.
A literal golden egg.
Yeah, and he gets fabulously wealthy, but then he gets greedy, he gets impatient. He wants all the gold right now, so he chops the goose open, and, well, nothing. No gold inside, and now his magical goose is dead. Tragic. But how does a children's fable apply to a modern professional?
It perfectly represents the PC balance.
Okay, break that down.
P stands for production. That's the golden eggs, the quarterly results, the clean house, the completed project. PZ stands for production capability. That's the health, welfare, and maintenance of the asset that actually produces those results.
So the goose.
That's the goose. The text gives a brilliant example of a worker who runs a massive piece of machinery day and night. He skips all the maintenance downtime just to get high production numbers and secure a quick promotion.
Right. So he gets his golden eggs, he gets the big promotion, he moves to a corner office, and the poor sucker who replaces him inherits a completely rusted, broken machine.
A totally dead goose.
Exactly. But wait, let's be honest about the modern gig economy for a second. Aren't we actively rewarded for killing the goose?
Sometimes it seems that way.
I mean, corporate bosses love a dead goose if it means a shiny, record-breaking quarterly report today. They don't care about tomorrow.
They might love it in the short term. But that is the exact illusion of the personality ethic we talked about earlier. It completely ignores natural laws.
Right.
You simply cannot outsmart physics. If a company treats its employees like disposable machines, or worse, if you treat your own body and mind that way, burning yourself out on 4 hours of sleep to get a promotion, eventually the golden eggs stop.
You just hit a wall.
A total physical and emotional crash. True effectiveness always lies in the balance between the result and the capacity to produce the result.
Okay, so let's say I want to protect my goose, my health, my mind, my relationships. How do I actually do that when the world is constantly demanding more golden eggs?
The sources say the very first step is taking the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Stopping the victim mentality.
Right. And to illustrate taking the steering wheel, the sources dive into the story of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who was imprisoned in the Nazi death camps.
Yeah.
He endured unimaginable indignity, starvation, and torture. But one day, naked and completely alone in a small cell, he discovered what he later called the last of the human freedoms.
Which is just a wild concept to find in an environment where literally every physical freedom has been violently stripped away from you.
It's incredible.
He realized that his captors could control his entire environment. They could control what happened to his physical body, but they could not control his internal response.
Wow.
He recognized that between a stimulus and a response, there is a space. And in that space lies the human freedom to choose.
That is so heavy. He literally used to project his mind out of the camp, visualizing himself lecturing his future students in a warm classroom about what he was learning in that very moment. He manufactured his own freedom inside a prison.
He truly did.
And then, you look at society today, we stub our toe and blame the entire universe. We blame our genetics, our parents, the economy. I can't help being a toxic friend. I'm a Scorpio with Irish grandparents. It's absurd.
It's absurd. But it's a very seductive logic because it completely absolves you of responsibility.
Oh, that's so true.
If you listen to our everyday language, it's incredibly reactive. My boss makes me so mad. I have to do this. I can't. That language transfers all your control to the environment.
So what do proactive people say?
Proactive people use entirely different language. I choose. I prefer. I control my own feelings. Eleanor Roosevelt summarized it perfectly when she said, "No one can hurt you without your consent."
Man, okay, the sources break this down into two circles, the circle of concern and the circle of influence.
Right.
The circle of concern is everything you care about but literally cannot control. The weather, the national debt, what your annoying neighbor is doing. But the circle of influence is the stuff you actually have power over, your habits, your attitude, your reactions.
Exactly.
But here's my question. If I just ignore the circle of concern, aren't I just burying my head in the sand?
Not at all. It's about where you focus your energy. When you obsess over the circle of concern, complain about the economy or a toxic coworker, you paralyze yourself with negative energy.
You just feel helpless.
Exactly. But think about the mechanism of the circle of influence. When you focus purely on your own competence and attitude, people start to notice. They trust you more. Your boss gives you more responsibility. Your spouse communicates better.
Oh, so it grows.
Yes. By fixing yourself, your influence naturally bleeds outward. You literally expand the circle of things you can control. Proactive people carry their own weather with them.
Okay, I'm with you. Taking the wheel sounds great, but taking the wheel is also terrifying. What if I take the wheel, become totally proactive, and confidently drive my car straight off a cliff? Being proactive doesn't automatically mean you're making good choices.
Which is exactly why you cannot stop there. Once you realize you are the programmer, you actually have to write the program. You have to figure out where the car is going.
Because otherwise, you're just driving 120 miles an hour in the wrong direction.
Precisely. This is the habit of personal leadership. To explain this, Covey uses a visualization exercise that is incredibly intense. I want you, the listener, to do this right now.
All right, let's do it.
Imagine walking into a funeral parlor. You see the flowers, you hear the quiet music, you walk up to the front, you look down into the casket, and you see yourself. This is your funeral, exactly 3 years from today.
Okay, that got very dark very fast.
It's startling, but it forces absolute clarity. Imagine 4 people are going to speak at your funeral. A family member, a close friend, a colleague from your profession, and someone from your community.
Okay.
What do you actually want them to say? What specific character traits do you want them to describe? What difference did you make in their lives? When you strip away all the noise and look at the very end, what actually matters to you?
Wow. Because if you don't know the answer to that, your entire life is just a reaction to whatever urgent crisis is screaming the loudest today.
Exactly. This exercise proves a core principle. All things are created twice. There is a mental creation first and a physical creation second.
Like a blueprint.
Right. You wouldn't start hammering wood together without a blueprint for the house. But most people live their lives without a blueprint.
The sources use a brilliant analogy here to separate management from leadership, because they are not the same thing.
Not at all.
Imagine a massive group of producers hacking their way through a dense jungle with machetes. The managers are right behind them. They are sharpening the machetes, they are writing procedure manuals, they are setting up optimal work schedules, they are being incredibly efficient.
Very productive.
But the leader is the person who climbs the tallest tree, surveys the entire landscape, and yells down, "Wrong jungle."
And how do the managers usually respond to the leader?
They yell back, "Shut up, we're making progress."
Right.
Which, honestly, perfectly describes almost every corporate job I have ever had.
Oh, absolutely.
We are hyper-efficiently clearing brush in a jungle we have absolutely no business being in. Management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success. Leadership determines if the ladder is leaning against the right wall.
So let's connect the dots here. You've taken responsibility. You've climbed the tree and made sure your ladder is against the right wall. Now, you climb back down. How do you stop your day-to-day life from devolving into total chaos?
Good question.
This brings us to the management phase, putting first things first.
The time management matrix, the grid of doom, urgent versus important.
Think about your inbox right now. How much of it is actually important and how much is just urgent noise screaming for your attention?
Mostly noise.
Most people live their entire lives in quadrant one. Things that are urgent and important, crises, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects, it completely consumes them. They get knocked down by a wave, stand up, and immediately get knocked down by another one.
It's exhausting. And what happens when you get exhausted? You escape. You flee to quadrant 4, things that are not urgent and not important.
Right.
Doom scrolling on social media for 3 hours, binge watching garbage television, just completely numbing the brain to recover from the trauma of the crises.
But the real magic, the absolute core of effective personal management, happens in quadrant 2. Things that are important but not urgent.
Like what?
This is long-term planning, relationship building, exercise, and continuous learning. The catch is quadrant 2 doesn't act on you. A crisis will hunt you down and force you to act. But building a relationship, you have to be proactive to do that.
Yeah, it takes effort.
And the only mathematical way to get more time for quadrant 2 is to learn to delegate effectively.
Delegation. Giving up control. This brings up the difference between gopher delegation and stewardship delegation.
Yes.
Gopher delegation is what most bosses do. Go for this, go for that, do this exactly how I tell you to do it. It is pure micromanaging.
It really is.
The text has this hilarious story about Covey taking his family water skiing. He's driving the boat, his son is skiing, and he hands a camera to his wife, Sandra. And instead of just letting her take the photo, he turns into a total tyrant.
Oh, I remember this.
He starts yelling, take it, wait, the sun is wrong, don't take it. Until she is totally frustrated and probably wants to drop the camera in the lake.
It's a painfully relatable example. The mechanism of gopher delegation is flawed. Because when you dictate the exact method, you automatically take responsibility for the result.
Oh, that makes sense.
If the picture is bad, it's your fault because you told her exactly what to do. Stewardship delegation is completely different. It focuses on results instead of methods.
So how does that work?
You give people the criteria, the resources, and the accountability, and then you step out of the way and let them figure out how to get there.
Which is so hard. Especially when you are convinced everyone else around you is incompetent. It'll just be faster if I do it myself.
We all fall into that trap.
But if you don't delegate, you stay a producer forever. You never get out of the weeds. You spend your life hacking at the jungle instead of climbing the tree.
That is the ultimate barrier. But once you master those 3 steps, taking the wheel, finding the right jungle, and managing your time in quadrant 2, you achieve independence. You've mastered your own time and mind.
Nice.
But life isn't lived in isolation. Now you have to deal with the hardest part of human existence.
Oh, no. You mean teamwork, other people.
Exactly. We must move from independence to interdependence. And to do that successfully without losing your mind, the sources introduce the metaphor of the emotional bank account.
Okay.
I want you to think of every single interaction you have with another human being as either a deposit or a withdrawal.
Okay. Deposits are things like truly listening to someone, keeping your promises, clarifying expectations, and just basic human kindness.
Right.
Withdrawals are nagging, breaking promises, being arrogant, or ignoring them. And here is a massive insight from the text. Sincere apologies are huge deposits, but weak people can't do them.
They really can't.
A weak person's security relies entirely on what other people think of them, so they rationalize their mistakes. It wasn't my fault, they misunderstood me.
Yes. Think about the physics of this account. If your account with a coworker is deeply in the positive, there is a massive reserve of trust. You can even make a mistake or say the wrong thing, and they'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
The communication is just effortless.
But if your account is overdrawn from constant withdrawals, if you've been secretly undermining them or ignoring them, the relationship becomes a minefield. You have to measure every single word. There is zero trust.
Which naturally leads to how we negotiate with these people. The ultimate paradigm of human interaction, win-win.
The famous win-win.
But honestly, is win-win actually realistic in the corporate world? Isn't it usually win-lose? I mean, I've sat in meetings where a coworker smiles at my face while actively trying to steal my project and take the credit. It feels like life is a single pie, and if they get a big slice, I get a smaller one.
What you are describing is the scarcity mentality. And what's fascinating here is that it is deeply scripted into us from a very young age. We are graded on a curve in school. We compete in zero-sum
Yeah,
sports.
someone has to lose.
But the sources argue for an abundance mentality, the deeply held belief that there is plenty out there for everyone. To answer your question, yes, win-win is highly realistic, and it is entirely necessary, because win-lose always eventually degrades into lose-lose.
Wait, how so?
Well, if I win a negotiation with you by ruthlessly crushing you and backing you into a corner, I might get the golden egg today. But I have destroyed the goose.
Oh,
I have
wow.
destroyed your trust. You will never willingly help me again, and you might actively sabotage me next time.
So to truly think win-win, you can't just be a nice pushover. You have to be nice, but you also have to be tough. You need courage to state your needs and consideration to understand theirs.
Exactly.
And to really do that, you have to give up manipulation. There is a wild story in the text about a father who had saved up money for years so his son could go to his prestigious alma mater.
Oh, the college story.
Yeah, it was a huge point of pride, 3 generations of family tradition, and the son looks at him and says, I don't want to go.
It's a classic clash of wills, a
Yeah.
total win-lose setup. The father initially tries to plead, reason, and manipulate the boy into going, but he realizes he is communicating conditional love.
Right.
He is essentially saying, I only value you if you do what I want. So the parents do some intense soul searching. They decide to unconditionally love their son, regardless of his choice,
Yeah.
and they tell him this, genuinely.
Yeah.
They drop their agenda.
And what happens? The second the pressure is completely off, the son doesn't have to defensively rebel just to prove he's his own person.
Right.
He stops fighting, looks at the situation clearly, and realizes he actually does want to go to the school. By completely dropping the win-lose battle, the father gets the win-win result. It's madness how well that works when you actually mean it and aren't just using it as a trick.
Because it removes the counterdependency. When you prioritize the person over the problem, when you seek first to understand them before demanding they understand you, the problem often resolves itself. The resistance simply melts away.
Wow. All right, let's bring this all together for you listening right now. We have covered a lot of grounds today. This deep dive was not about answering emails faster or getting up at dawn to grind.
Not at all.
It is a radical root-level shift. It is about stopping the victim narrative, expanding your circle of influence, protecting your golden goose, making sure your ladder is leaning against the right wall, and building relationships based on abundance, not scarcity.
Which leads us to a final profound thought from the text. The culmination of all these habits is something called synergy.
Synergy. Sounds like corporate buzzword bingo, but go on.
We haven't even scratched the surface of it, but synergy asks a mathematical question. What if 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2?
Wait, what do you mean?
What if, when you truly combine different perspectives instead of fighting over them, when you have a high emotional bank account and an abundance mentality, 1 + 1 = 16?
16.
What if the highest level of human existence isn't compromise, where we both give up something, but creating a third alternative that simply did not exist before we started talking? It's not your way, it's not my way, it's a higher, radically better way.
I absolutely love that. A third alternative. So, here's my challenge to you today. Look at your biggest current conflict, the one that is making your stomach churn right now.
We all have one.
Are you stuck in a win-lose mindset? Are you just trying to put an Instagram filter on a crumbling building? I challenge you to invent a third alternative today. Change your map. Keep your golden goose healthy. Stay out of the wrong jistle. And for the love of everything, stop letting other people write your script. We will catch you on the next Dip Dive.